Good morning. Thank you, Jeremy, for having me over, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk a little bit about the Soybean Promotion Board this morning, and looking forward to hearing our presentations that we have today that will highlight some of our projects that we're working on. You see that list of names up there on the board. These are some pretty dedicated individuals. It's been a pleasure of mine to work with them and to be a part of a concerted effort to make our soybean industry here in Arkansas more viable and maybe a little bit more visible. After this year, we've started a couple of new projects that we'll talk about. You see out to the side, there's some other designations. We are asked to serve by different organizations here in the state, either the Farm Bureau or the Riceland Foods, the Ag Council, and the Arkansas Soybean Association. Our names are submitted to the governor, and then the governor makes his appointments to serve on this board. We take our jobs very seriously. All of us are taxpayers, and we take our political aspirations and things very seriously. The checkoff is not a tax. It has been called that several times, but it's a self-imposed assessment that we use to further our industry through research and promotion. The ones that are designated USB in the blue there, Todd Allen, Jim Carroll, and Rusty Smith serve on the USB board to do the work on the national side of our program. It's a very significant program. It has become more significant in the last 2 or 3 years with the price of our soybeans and our production going up. We're now enjoying over $4 million in the state of collections from our checkoff to be used in our research projects. Half of that money stays here and is administered by the board that was just up there on the screen. The other half goes to the USB, where it is put collectively with all the soybean farmers in the country, and to fund larger projects with a larger scope for our industry. Last year, just as a little bit of a side note, 2009 and 2010, we started a little bit of a project with our Treasury Department here in the state and the Department of Finance Administration on the collections and the handling of our checkoff dollars. We felt like we were a little bit under the gun in trying to meet the law that we're under that governs our checkoff, and we wanted to work with the Treasury Department and the Department of Finance Administration to kind of streamline that and make our funds a little bit more segregated than what they are. And given the recession that the country's in, Arkansas is one of only 4 states in the country that is financially or fiscally sound at this point. But some of the other states were having problems with their checkoff dollars being sort of sequestered by their state governments and used for other purposes, maybe not necessarily what we assessed ourselves to do. I spent a good portion of last year working on that. I'm sorry to say that we didn't get exactly the outcome that we wanted, but I think that we did educate our administrators in the state offices as to how the law is written and how it's supposed to be administered, and maybe we'll have a little bit better understanding with them and with you as producers in how we collect and administer our funds. Our funding allocations go mainly for research. Basically, our budget is for research, and we have one of the best relationships that I can think of between a funding partner and a research partner with the University of Arkansas, and then its extension programs here in Arkansas. We just I feel very, very fortunate to be a part of it and to be reaping the benefits on my farm of a self-imposed assessment and a research team that brings me the knowledge that I need to make my business more profitable. We also have some in-state promotion and education. We started a new a project with that this year, and we'll talk about that a little more a little bit later. We also funded a research coordinator position, or a soybean promotion coordinator position a few years ago, and Dr. Mike French was the first person to take that job for us, and we're definitely missing him. His insight will be shown to have kicked us off in a good way with this coordinator's position. He went at it in a little bit of a different way than what we had in the past, and looking at a sort of a regional set up multiple soybean production systems. We divided those up a few years ago to try and streamline those research projects. And you can see there breeding and genetics and physiology, the verification program, which almost all of you are familiar with. And then we also have several new projects and alternative projects that we're able to look at. We divided the production system research into three categories and trying to make sure that we eliminate duplication in a lot of our projects. Those three categories are the early season, which Dr. Lanny Ashlock worked for years and years to convince us that was a viable production method here in our state. Then, of course, our full season, which we've always enjoyed and built our industry on. And then double crop, following our wheat crops, and sometimes other crops, rice or corn, if folks are maybe want to take a chance a little bit. But we do have research covering all of those things. In the breeding and genetics, we have conventional lines, some of the best in the country. Our board, right when I got on the board, and I don't even remember how long ago that's been, but the Roundup Ready technology was just coming of age, and we were given the question and posed the question by many of our producers as to what we would do with the conventional program. And we as a board decided after lengthy discussions with a lot of the producers in the state, that we really needed to concentrate and to keep our conventional lines in place, because we really didn't know what Roundup Ready was going to do. And I think now we've come and made a little bit of a circle here. We found that it was a save-all, but now we have sort of created a different type of problem than we may have anticipated that 10 years ago or however long ago it's been. So we kept those conventional lines up and going, and the university has turned out some very good, very prolific conventional varieties, that even some that's been used as a national check for other conventional varieties. But we also, too, in our breeding program, have Roundup Ready 1 and Roundup Ready 2 beans. Got a new one coming out, UA 4910, and I'm sure someone's going to elaborate on it today. We also have special lines for high oil and high meal and large and small seeded beans. We've also had one project where we're really trying to break down that divergence that you have. If you have high oil, you can't have high protein. We've done some work on that to try and keep those numbers a little closer together as we raise the production of both oil and meal content in those beans and their composition. When you get down to the verification program, that's another thing that's been going on for a long time. I've had the opportunity to be involved with that on my farm, and I appreciate very much the efforts that go into that and the way in which they bring that research information to the farm level, to the field level, to the economic level that shows me the little things I can do and the big things that I can do to increase my bottom line. And that's really what the whole purpose of the checkoff program is for, is to increase our profitability in this business. Alternative and new projects. I guess the one that kind of intrigues me the most is the polyols, where I believe Ford now is just about gone whole system in their foam in their seats for their vehicles. They started with the Mustang a couple of years ago, and I think now almost all the foam that you see used in their car seats are made from soy polyols. And I think, that's a pretty impressive thing to go from a forage crop, which was what soybean was brought into this country, all the way to some of the most sophisticated machinery that an individual can buy. You're sitting on part of it. So, I mean, it's kind of fun. Interesting projects. We also have some that we have funded that what I call are just out there. Different types of films and different types of things that you can use in the health industry and things like that. I really feel like at some point in time we're going to find something in soybean that can make a tremendous impact in the health industry. I think it's in there. I think, and we've got people that are absolutely looking for it. Last year, a little over $2.5 million is what we had here in the state to use for research and promotion projects. And like I said, the bulk of it does go for research. 28 different projects. We all call that the Red Book, the guys that are on the board. And I was hoping some more of the board members would be here today, but I guess it's just myself, and I see Gary Sitzer back there. but we call that the Red Book, and that's what we kind of use as our guide, and it's also what the researchers use as their guide. And if we do decide to fund a project, it's after considerable contemplation and trying to make that thing go as far as we can go for the dollars that we spend. Those projects are usually 1 to 3 years. We try not to fund one more than 3 years long, but we will extend them. If we get into a situation where we're finding information that is very pertinent to what we're doing and what the researchers are looking for, then we will extend those projects and make them come to fruition and make sure that we get all the information that we can after the investment that we've made in the previous years. A couple of the programs that stay on the books all the time is the verification program, of course, and now also Dr. Cartwright a few years ago started the seed, the accelerated aging and the seed quality project that is going to be, I think, going to be an ongoing project. It will help us to understand the problems that we have sometimes with being able to get those seed up out of the ground in tough conditions, how we store them. We're looking at the whole thing and trying to make that a better situation for us when you spend the kind of money that we're spending for seed. We sure want them to come up, and we want to understand what to ask for to make sure that we're getting the product that we want. This year, we started a new, larger promotion project. You saw those numbers a few minutes ago. I think when I first got on the board, we had $600,000, I think was about what we had to use for our research. And of course, that doesn't go very far. And we did very, very little promotion. Basically, our promotion projects ended up as Soybean Today that we sent out once a year, and then some other smaller flyers and things that we may hand out at meetings and mail out to our soybean producers. But this past year, we were able to, because of the increase in our collections, fund a little bit more of a promotion and education project. The communications group out of Little Rock were the company that got the bid for that, and that too is that was a process. Many of us on the promotion board had never seen before. Was hiring a group like that on a bid process is pretty hard for a board to do. But we got it accomplished, and I have to say, I was telling Layla a minute ago that it was almost like magic for me. After we once got it all set up, it just all of a sudden it was all there, and they did a really good job for us. And I hope that everyone has seen or heard the radio spots or the television spots or seen the billboards. We had 200 and something thousand inserts in the Gazette that went out to everybody that takes the Democrat Gazette paper here in the state, and just trying to get the message out there that we are a viable industry and that we do make a big difference in the state of Arkansas. We're the largest acreage crop in the state, and we make a tremendous impact on the state's economy. We also had the governor to proclaim October as Soybean Month. I know we have Rice Month and Cotton Month, and so we decided we better have a Soybean Month. We didn't want to be left out. So just all those things to try and get everyone that we can involved and everyone brought up to speed as to how soybean does impact the state of Arkansas. We also had Soybean Sunday at the State Fair. We sponsored an armband for the rides and the kids, and we partnered with the FFA, which is something I'm pretty excited about and looking forward to building on in future promotion activities is getting some young people involved with what we do and how we operate our farms in the state, and so it was very nice to have the opportunity to work with the FFA, and they took care of manning our table and our booth part of the time there at the Arkansas State Fair, along with the folks from the communications group. That's a picture of the board, and some of the wives made it down for the governor's proclamation. Jeremy's our state soybean specialist, and we rely on him heavily to be able to confirm or give us information from all over the state. As board members, we don't get to travel around out of our areas during season because most all of us are very involved with our farming operations. So I pick on Jeremy because he's a good friend, but he's also a sounding board that we use to get information from around the state, as we go throughout the year. I mentioned that half of our money goes to the United Soybean Board, and we're a top 10 soybean producing state. But we, as a board, don't feel like we get top 10 money coming back from the other half, from the USB half, for research and things here in our state. So we've started a couple of different things, a couple of different avenues, and trying to bring a little bit more of the other half of that money back to our state for larger projects. It seems that they were interested in maybe some multi-state, some multi-stakeholder projects. So along with hiring that promotion board coordinator, we also spearheaded a collection of states, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Texas, which Arkansas by far and away grows more beans than the other three put together, but we still needed maybe a southern connection, something that we could collectively take to the USB and ask for funding for research projects, and also to make sure that we weren't duplicating anything with those other three states. And that was the impetus that put us into hiring the coordinator, and we certainly do appreciate the efforts that Dr. French put forth before his passing, and don't want to take anything away from the things that he did for us and got us started. We've got a new coordinator now, and I don't know if any of you know him or not, but it's Dr. Lanny Ashlock. I'm just pretty excited about the situation that we have there. I think one of the first times that I met with Dr. Ashlock was on the farm, and I probably won't ever forget that. He knew what I was doing, and I didn't think he did. Then he started teaching me ways to do it better, and I appreciate that, and all the efforts that he put forth over the years for the soybean industry here in the state. And now I think with this coordinator's position, we're going to have a whole new facet to being able to collectively pursue a better soybean industry here in the state. And looking forward to working with you, Lanny, and I know we've got the promise of some good things coming from that. BioDiesel. Many of you probably know that that's been one of the things that I've worked on personally for, I don't know, probably since 2000 or 2001. And another one of those things that it was hard for me to get my hands around. I think Lanny was the first one that brought biodiesel to the farm. We didn't call it biodiesel then, we called it soy diesel, and it was definitely a soybean project. It was all soybean money that started the National Biodiesel Board, and still a good portion, if not, still about half of the funding for the National Biodiesel Board comes from the soybean industry. But just to give you a few little updates on biodiesel, we've had a pretty hard run in the last few months. We didn't get our federal excise tax credit renewed, and we still haven't for 2010. And that's put a lot of pressure on the industry. Biodiesel now is not only made from soybean oil, but you all know it's made from just about every other type of oil that you can think of, and waste oil and all sorts of different products. And that's what it's going to take. The whole premise behind biodiesel is to lessen our dependence on foreign oil and build our rural communities and clean up our air and all those different things. It's a great product. It's a great way for us to be a little more self-sustaining, and it's a great opportunity for soybean, because even if you don't use soybean oil for biodiesel, then it creates a void in some other market that soybean oil can definitely fill. Soybean oil probably is the most, usable oil in our cooking and food industry. And if you're using biodiesel for that might not be the best thing to do. So sustainability has become a big issue. We're working very hard to get the right numbers out to our legislators and to our general public that lets them know that we are a sustainable industry with biodiesel, and with soybean oil being a portion of that. In 2010, our production's down about 35%. We're going to make approximately 350 million gallons this year. At the end of 2009, we had 173 plants registered and running. Right now, we've got about 140, and they're at various stages of shutdown. It'd be about the best way I know how to put it. The ones that are running on a skeleton crew, and we really need to get that excise tax credit back up and going, along with our renewable fuel standard, the RFS2 now. We've got the promise of a viable industry for our biodiesel producers. The composition of the National Biodiesel Board is changing. because of the production going up. The way our dues setup is made, the electorate in the National BioDiesel Board is dependent on production and QSSB donations, and that production has been ramping up over the years, so it's changing the composition of our board some. And at some point in time, the next few years, it will be a production-oriented board more so than a farm-oriented board. So we've got some things to look forward to there. Hopefully we'll weather this storm and the others that are coming. I'm sure there'll be more, but this one has been particularly rough on a fledgling industry. So if you get to talk to your legislators or whatever, let them know that we still need that excise tax credit, and we want this industry to be a part of our rural landscape and a part of our marketing system for our soybean oil. This last slide is important. There's 9 of us, and we take our jobs very seriously, and we want to hear from everyone involved with the soybean industry. And it doesn't matter, researchers, the students that are studying with them and under them, the producers, the general public. We need information. We want to know what we're doing. We want to know how we're doing it, and we want to know what you want for future projects. And like I said earlier, I still think there's numerous things out there that we haven't even touched on yet, and it'll be exciting to watch those projects come to our attention and then be researched and brought to market. With that, I thank you for the opportunity to be here today, and I'm glad you came, and I'm finished. Yes, sir.
Where do things stand on the tax credit being renewed? I've heard there's a movement in Washington to maybe try to push that along. Do we go anymore?
All year, we have put the biodiesel tax credit on with several different vehicles to get that legislation passed. Never has the biodiesel tax credit been negatively challenged in all of those debates. What has happened to us is everything that we've got put on, it's been pulled away, not because of anything negative, but because we have to do the pay-go thing now. We have to do this and we have to do that. And then, of course, we've had you guys know as well as I do that there's a big division in the Republicans and the Democrats. We seem to be getting lost in that shuffle every time. I don't even know how much of our resources this year in our Washington, D.C. office have been spent just on that one particular item. And there's many, many, many more things that we need to be working on in the biodiesel industry. Besides that, it is a very, very, very important part of it, don't get me wrong. But the amount of resources that we have put into it have been just tremendous. And we can't do anything more positive than what we are, because we've never had a rock thrown at us this whole year. I am not doing a very good job of answering your question because we haven't been able to find the answer to it either. And it's hard to know why you can't get something as positive as it is passed when you have no one that opposes it. But we haven't been able to get it done. It's been very, very frustrating for the industry and for our lobbying staff, and definitely for the biodiesel producers. I don't know of anybody that's taken it any harder than they have. Yes, sir.
As crude oil prices go up, though, it does throw a favor back in.
It does. All ships are buoyed by the crude oil price, and also, we have stakeholders in the RFS too that are going to have to purchase their alternative fuels, and biodiesel is the only advanced biofuel on the market right now for the diesel engine. And at some point in time, those stakeholders have to use a certain portion of their fuel needs as alternative fuels or renewable fuels. They're going to have to come to the table and buy our product. Now, we've heard a lot from those stakeholders that says they can't get the product. Well, if you go to an MBB meeting, I'll promise you there'll be people lined up along the wall that says, if you want product, I'll make it for you. Now, there is the cost involved, but that excise tax credit, all of those things, the Commodity Credit Corporation funding, and all those things come into play to level that price just a little bit, and also the price of crude oil coming up. We as fuel users don't like to hear that, but we as soybean producers do. I mean, it actually does buoy up our price some. Okay. Thank you very much.